Hello, everyone, and thank you for stopping by. I thought today we would take a look at emotions and how they affect us. Do we internalize them? Do we externalize them? I wanted to read a page out of a journal that I have. It's called Notes to Self by Lisa Curry. Practice observing your feelings with curiosity rather than with judgment. When a new feeling simmers up inside you, especially an uncomfortable one, take a few deep breaths and try to name it. I'm feeling sad, happy, numb, angry, bitter. Then continue on with your day. Most feelings will pass by quickly, like a light rain shower. If you find the weather inside you is relentlessly stormy, what might help? Step away from what you're doing for a moment. Get some fresh air. Move your body. Reach out to a friend. Take a nap if you can. Keep checking in with yourself throughout the day. Practice the habit of it. So, emotions. We all have them. Our emotions are there for a reason, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. They come and go, they're fleeting. When the body is in physical pain, that is to alert us that something is wrong. And it's the same thing when we are in emotional pain. It's our body telling us something's wrong and you need to pay attention to it. We are holistic beings. You can't separate the spiritual from the physical, from the mental, from the emotional. If you're physically sick long enough, you begin to get depressed, and it just affects, it's like the domino effect. One affects the other. You can't separate the four sides of it. Emotions aren't good or bad, they just are. It's how we behave on the emotions that is where good or bad comes in. We go through many emotions throughout the day, just like the reading. It says, an emotion passes very quickly. You may wake up in a good mood, be very happy, and something happened throughout the day, and you become angry or sad, or just the weather may be gloomy, and you start getting down. Should our emotions control us? Since they come and go so quickly, if we are extremely angry at someone, should we allow that anger to manifest itself and us carry through with what we would like to carry through with? No, it's not a good idea to let your emotions control you, because when that happens and you react in a negative way to someone else regarding that emotion, the consequences of your behavior lasts much longer than the emotion did. There are many people in prison right now who acted out on an emotion, and those consequences are going to stay with them for the rest of their life. Negative thoughts. We all seem to have this tape recorder in our head that's negative. Well, you're worthless. Nobody cares about you. Nobody could love you. You can't do your job right. You can't get through school. You can't talk to people. You're goofy. You're stupid. It's a tape that we play in our heads over and over and over. And it's so ingrained in us that we don't even realize we're doing it. But it has an effect on us. So, how do we challenge those negative thoughts when we have them? Say something say something's gone wrong at work, and you mess something up. And you know, we're human. We make mistakes. Just own it. Hey, you know what? My bad. I messed up. Just own it. Don't wait until your boss comes to you. Go to them and tell them, look, this is what I did. Help me fix it, or I've already fixed it, or whatever. But I think they'll appreciate you much more if you go to them and own it and be responsible than letting them find out the hard way. So these negative thoughts that we have, the way that we can challenge them is by putting them on trial. So you have a prosecution and a defense when you're having a trial, and that's where you gather evidence in support of or against your thought. Evidence can only be used if it's a verifiable fact. No interpretations, no guesses, no opinions. The judge comes to a verdict regarding your thought. Is the thought accurate and fair? Are there other thoughts that could explain the facts? So, let's use an example. So we're going to put these thoughts on trial. The defense is going to be your negative thought, which is internalization, and that's emotion. The prosecution is going to be challenging what facts there is to back your emotion or your negative thought up. It's going to present an externalization, and it's going to bring logic. And when you can balance logic with emotion, you are using your wise mind, you're staying in the moment, and you're sticking just with the facts. So, let's use an example of you've tried to call your friend several times, and he or she doesn't answer. Well, after a few times, you start thinking, well, what have I done to her to make her mad at me? I'm just going to ignore her. When she calls me, I'm not going to answer. So, you don't, and you stop calling. So, you're asking yourself, you're playing this negative thought in your head. Here goes the tape. She's ignoring me. She's mad at me. What did I do? What did you do? Is there any evidence to your thought? Is there evidence contrary to your thought? Are you trying to interpret the situation without all the information? What would another friend think about the situation if you talked to them about it? If you took the situation positively, how would it be different? So let's bring in the prosecution. We've got the defense. The defense is saying, you know, this friend is mad. I don't know what I did. I'm just going to ignore her. I don't care if she ever talks to me again. I'm not ever taking another call from her. Well, then the prosecution comes in. That's where externalization comes in. That's where you look at it as if you're not asking yourself, well, what did I do to make her mad or him mad? But what might be going on with that person as to why they're not answering your calls, because it might be something with them. And so when you break it down with facts, you're using logic. So is there any evidence backing up the fact that your friend is ignoring your calls? Well, from past behavior of your friend, have they ignored your calls in the past? No. Is it unusual for them to not talk to you or not take your call, or for you not to talk to them often? Well, Yeah, it's unusual that we don't talk often or that they're not answering. Do you have all of the knowledge as to why your friend may not be answering? Could she be sick? Could her phone service be out? Could a family member be sick? Has something happened? Now you're putting the responsibility for the person not answering the phone on them, not you. And you're beginning to think about it logically. So when you think about it logically and you break it down and you begin to realize, well, there's no facts to this thought that I'm having. So instead of ignoring the call when your friend ever does call, maybe leave her a message and say, hey, I've been trying to call you. It's not like you to not answer me or get back with me. Is anything wrong? If time goes by, don't just assume, well, she's ignoring me. Perhaps something really is wrong. Call somebody and find out, hey, I can't get in touch with her. I just want to make sure that she's okay. Have you heard from her? Have you talked to her? Would you go check on her? And that is how you put your thoughts on trial and weigh the facts against the emotion. So as you're going through your days, start becoming aware of the different emotions that you go through throughout the day. Have you ever found yourself just going through your day and you stop and you think, why am I so angry? Why are you angry? Is there some unresolved issue that you're pushing to the back of your mind that you're not dealing with? Are you angry all the time? Are there unresolved issues in your past or the present that you're not wanting to face? You know, it is so easy to stick our head in the sand and not face up to things that we need to face. It's just, we just go right into the assumption that, it's somebody just deliberately wanting to blaming we're blaming ourselves. We go into that blaming ourselves mode, which we internalize instead of externalize. Say you meet a coworker in the hallway, walking down the hall. Coworkers usually friendly. You speak to them, they don't speak to you. Again, well, what did I do to them to make them mad? Next time I see him, I'm going to ignore him. I can play this game too. Next time you see him, you act like you don't know him. He speaks, and you just walk on by. And then he's thinking the same thing that you were thinking. Well, what did I do to her? When the truth of the matter is, what if the person was sick and trying to get to the bathroom so that they could throw up? What if their boss just handed them a project with a deadline and they were so distracted, maybe they didn't even see you pass by or hear you. Maybe they were going to an emergency. Any number of things could have been happening. So when you externalize it and you start thinking, instead of what did I do to make them mad to not speak to me, maybe start thinking about the next time you see them, say, hey, you seemed a little distracted lately. Is anything going on? Is there anything that I can help you with? And that way you've diffused the situation. So let's talk about distorted thinking. Anybody ever have distorted thoughts? Cognitive distortions. Cognition just means thoughts. What are we thinking? Is our thinking rational? Do we think delusionally? Is being in denial a good thing or a bad thing? Well, it's not a good thing, but sometimes it's the only way that some people know how to cope with situations. So their brain goes into denial, and they can push it to the back burner and just not deal with it. But it won't stay there forever. Cognitive therapy believes that our thoughts have large influence on our emotions, and that can be true. Cognitive distortions are thoughts that affect everyone, but in their extreme form. They can negatively affect the way we interact and view our experiences, just like when we talked about phoning a friend and just assuming that the friend was ignoring you, when that probably wasn't true at all. You just didn't have all the facts. And we got to learn to stick with the facts. You know, if you're trying to get in touch with somebody and you're not reaching them, and it is not their typical behavior to be like that, then don't start assuming, because when you assume, you can get yourself in some big trouble. Distortions or negative thinking can begin to happen automatically, because the brain automatically goes to the worst case scenario. We don't always go straight to the end of the rainbow where the pot of gold is. We go to the fact that it's going to storm in our lives forever. So if we begin to see these cognitive distortions as the rainstorm inside of us, or the thunderstorm, or the tornado inside of us, we can start doing everything that we can to put the umbrella up, to get our inside secured, or our house secured, so that we don't allow the storms to continue, but we do everything that we can to get in and out of the rain. Sometimes we don't even realize that it's happening. So let's talk about some common cognitive distortions by David Burns in Feeling Good. All or nothing thinking. You see things in black and white. Yes or no? If your performance falls short of perfect, you see yourself as a failure. There you go. You know what? I was 10 minutes late getting that report turned in, and the boss just chewed me out. So, you know, it's true. I am just a total train wreck. I'm a one-way ticket on the hot mess train. I can't do anything right. You know what? I'm going to go pack my stuff up in my office, and I'm going home. I'm quitting. I'm quitting. I don't care if the bills get paid. I don't care if the lights get turned off. They can come and repossess my car. But I can't do this job. I'm a failure at it. I've been here for 5 years failing at it. 5 years I've been here failing at the same job. 5 years. Gotten a raise every year. All of my performance reviews are great, but I know they're lying. They're just doing that. They're just giving me raises and telling me how good of a job I'm doing, just so they don't hurt my feelings. Yeah. Is that rational thinking, or is it distorted thinking? Overgeneralization. You see a single negative event as a never-ending pattern of defeat. So, what might that be? Could be anything from as small as turning a report in 10 minutes late to a failed relationship. Mental filters. You pick out a single negative detail and you dwell on it exclusively, or you ruminate on it. You keep thinking on it and thinking on it and thinking on it. Just like when you tried to call your friend and you've tried to call them 2 or 3 times and you start thinking, well, they're just ignoring me, and you ruminate on it all day long. You have let it control you without even having any facts to back it up as to whether your thought is accurate or not. But when you can learn to start putting those thoughts on trial, and instead of internalizing everything and making it about you, externalizing it and make it about the reality of the situation. The reality of the situation of you turning your report in 10 minutes late may be due to the fact that somebody kept coming in and interrupting you, needing this, needing that, or maybe you just absolutely could not get the information you needed to get in that report by the deadline. And therefore, it's all or nothing thinking. You don't look at all of the good things that you've done. You don't consider the fact, I'm not doing too bad because they've kept me for 5 years, so can't be all that bad, right? So when you're turning it around and you're looking at the logic of it, you've gotten a raise every year. Your performance reviews have been high. They're even considering you for a promotion. So when you start bringing in the facts instead of the emotion, that's when you can balance it out and change the negative thinking. And you can get in the habit of stopping that thought, that negative thought, right? I've heard people say, well, you can't control your thoughts. Yeah, you can. Sure you can. When you recognize that you are a negative thinker, or that you think emotionally and react emotionally a lot, you most certainly can begin to recognize that and change it. When that negative thought starts, well, I can't do anything right at this job. Oh, now hold on a minute. Hold on. Yes, I can too. I've been here 5 years. I've gotten a raise every year. My performance review is great, and I'm up for a promotion. See, you've turned that negative thinking around to logic, because the facts are just what you presented to yourself about being there, staying there, getting raises, getting good performance reviews. That's facts. Where your thought of, well, I'm just a big mess up, is not rational thinking. Disqualifying the positive. How many times do we do this? Somebody will say, hey, great job on that. And you're like, oh, nah, not really. You reject positive experiences by insisting they don't count. Kind of like my mom when I was growing up. She might give me a compliment or tell me something good about myself, and I'd tell her, well, you really have to say that because you're my mom. And so I didn't believe it. So you think that the positive experiences don't count for some reason. In this way, you can maintain negative belief that is contradicted by your everyday experiences. Contradicted or factual in your everyday experience. Jumping to conclusions. Assuming you make a negative interpretation, even though there are no definite facts that convincingly support your conclusions. Mind reading. You arbitrarily conclude that someone is reacting negatively to you and you don't bother to check it out. Kind of like your friend who you tried to call several times, You just jump to the conclusion that that friend is ignoring you. Just blatantly ignoring you. Then you have the fortune teller error. You anticipate that things will turn out badly, and you feel convinced that your prediction is already an established fact. When you think like this, that and have yourself convinced that it's going to turn out badly, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to turn out bad. Self-fulfilling prophecy or self-sabotage. You don't feel like you deserve anything good, so you do things at your job to get yourself fired. You may be a great worker, but because you lack the confidence in yourself, because you can't see the value in you, you won't step up to the plate and do the job that you're quite capable of doing well. And so you'll keep coming to work late, you'll keep avoiding getting your job done, meeting your deadlines, until you get fired. Well, there you go. That fortune teller theory is reinforced. I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. I can't do anything right. It happens at every job I work on. Never seeing that it's not that situations are going to turn out bad automatically. It's that you create the situation that turns out bad. You bring it about. Magnification or minimization. You can either make something bigger than it really is, or you can minimize it when it really is bigger than what you're making it out to be. You exaggerate the importance of things such as your goof up or someone else's achievement. Or you inappropriately shrink things until they appear tiny. Your own desirable qualities or the other fellow's imperfections. This is also called the binocular trick. Somebody pays you a compliment on a job well done. Hey, you did great on that project. Man, I would have never thought of that. I know. It was nothing. It really wasn't that great. Or you over-magnify somebody else's achievement. You're singing their praises. Oh, this person's so wonderful. No, they're not. They're a jerk. Oh, well, they don't mean to be. They're just, they may be going through problems, whatever, yada, yada. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Going through problems is not a good reason to treat other people badly. We all go through problems. We all have issues. That does not give us the right to go around being mean and cruel to other people because, well, hey, I have problems. Or, hey, I'm older. I'm an elderly person. I get to be rude and nasty and talk down to you. No, you don't. Let's talk about emotional reasoning. Lost my place here. Emotional reasoning. You assume that your negative emotions necessarily reflect the way things really are. I feel it, therefore it must be true. Remember, we talked earlier about how it is not a good thing to be controlled by your emotions because emotions are fleeting. They come and go. You can be laughing and crying at the same time. You can be happy about something and crying. Have you ever been to a funeral where it's sad? It's sad. But then you sit around and you talk about the person and funny things that happen, and your heart is hurting. You've got a hole in your heart because this person is missing. But yet you're laughing at the fun things. So you can feel sad and happy at the same time. So you think that your negative emotions are factual. You think that is fact. That, you know, I'm never going to get over this relationship. I'm going to be sad forever. I'll never be able to stay in a relationship. I'll never be able to keep anybody, make anybody happy. Well, you're right. Because nobody can make anybody else happy. It's our responsibility to be happy. And we cannot be happy in a relationship if we're not happy as single people. Because we are single before we're a couple. And if you can't live successfully as a single, you can't live successfully as a couple. You have to become the person that you want to be in a partner, in an employer, in a parent. You have to become that person if that's the person that you want, because you need to have the same standards and qualities that the other person has, because you can't expect to find somebody when your standards are set so high and then you don't have those same standards. So you have to have the same emotional well-being and mental health that the other person has in order to maintain the relationship. Should statements. You can should all over yourself was a movie line one time. You try to motivate yourself with shoulds and shouldn'ts as if you had to be whipped and punished before you could be expected to do anything. Musts and oughts are also offenders. I must do it this way. It ought to be done this way. Everybody ought to do it this way. You need to do this. Nothing irritates me more than for someone to come up to me and say, you need to do this. Well, I get the point that they're saying, hey, you might want to check that out and see what you think about it. But don't come at me with that, oh, you need to do this. You don't know what I need. I don't know what you need. So it's all about changing our language and our approach when we approach people. If you walk up to somebody and tell them, you make me so mad I could just bite nails in two, what's that person going to do? They're going to go on the defensive. And the fight begins. What if you had walked up and said, because you externalized an issue that should have been internalized that time, what if you had approached that person and said, I really wish that you would call me when you're going to be late like this, because I worry that something's happened. You've made it an I statement. You've made it about you. You've expressed your concern, and you have not made the other person angry in doing so. And they can probably see your point much better by doing it that way. The emotional consequence is guilt. When you direct should statements toward others, you feel anger, frustration, and resentment. When you think somebody else should be doing something that you don't necessarily know they should be, then you're going to be frustrated because you're not going to get from them what you're expecting or what you want. Labeling and mislabeling. This is an extreme form of overgeneralization. Instead of describing your error, you attach a negative label to yourself. I'm a loser. I'm stupid. I can't do anything. When someone else's behavior rubs you the wrong way, you attach a negative label to him. He's a louse. He's a jerk. Is he really? Is he like that all the time? Does it seem to be his personality? Or does it seem to be that his learned behavior is to react negatively to everything? Some people are like that. But if you observe that behavior in somebody who's normally a very kind, helpful, and easily approachable person, they may be having a bad day. You could meet me some days and I'm having a bad day, and you would go away with the impression that you didn't ever want to see or talk to me again. And the next time you see me, I may be fine. So, again, are they that way all the time? Or is it just a situational thing? Personalization. You see yourself as the cause of some negative event which, in fact, you were not primarily responsible for. You see yourself, or you see your friend as being mad at you for not answering the phone. That you're not responsible for that. Even if she was mad at you, if you haven't done anything, that's not your responsibility. It's her responsibility to come to you and say, hey, you offended me, you hurt my feelings, you made me angry. Then it's your responsibility to make it right. But until then, don't play God and assume that everything is on you. Mislabeling involves describing an event with language that is highly colored and emotionally loaded. Have you ever seen somebody that's just a drama queen? Every statement out of their mouth is, oh my God, girl, did you see what happened? I thought I was going to, I ain't never going to get over that. You broke your fingernail, really? And you're reacting that strongly to it? How would you react if something really, really serious happened? Good question. So, I'm going to challenge you to stay aware in the future of the negative thinking pattern that you go through. Begin to realize and recognize when you're having cognitive distortions, when you're thinking emotionally and not factually, and when you start having that negative thought, begin to apply the facts to it. Bring in the prosecution who's going to shoot that negative thought down with facts of, no, that's not how that person's not like that all the time. It's not like her to not take my phone calls. No, something's going on. Something's wrong. I need to get in touch with somebody. And begin to turn those negative thoughts around. Stop the negative thoughts right in their tracks. Nope, that's not true. That is not true. She would not ignore my phone calls. Something's wrong. My coworker always talks to me when I pass them or speaks to me when I pass them in the hall. Something's not right here. Instead of just internalizing it and assuming and becoming angry and frustrated, maybe they need your help. Maybe they could use a helping hand, a kind word, a smile. So start putting the facts with the negative thoughts. I hear people say all the time, well, you can't help who you fall in love with. Yeah, you can. If you see red flags and warning signs and you keep right on going and fall anyway, then you brought that on yourself. You most certainly absolutely can help who you fall in love with. You can help who you are friends with. You can choose whether family is a positive influence or a negative influence. And if you need to set some boundaries and avoid those people. So begin to think of what's going on inside you as the weather, like the reading that was in that book where it's talking about see what's going on with the thunderstorm inside you. Where's the sun shining? Is it cloudy? Is it sunny and cloudy? Yeah. Emotions are like the weather, it comes and goes. They come and go. They're not good or bad. They're not right or wrong. It's your behavior and how you react and how you act out on that thought that's the right or wrong. A lot of times we attach the behavior as the person, and you find yourself saying, can't stand that person. They're just the most irritating person on earth. When really it's their behavior that you don't like. That's what you're irritated at. But you attach that emotion or that behavior to being that person. So I hope this helped you to become aware of how we attach negative emotions to situations, and we create things that are not there by cognitive distortions, and how to begin to bring in the prosecution. Throw the facts at them. Make a judgment call based on the facts, not the emotions. I appreciate you being here today and watching this video. I'm Dottie, and we're always trying to connect the dots. So, I hope to see you soon. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell. I'm going to try to be more diligent about doing these videos on different mental health topics. So, if you have a request, put it in the comment section and I'll consider it. I hope you all have a great day wherever you are. Remember, somebody might ruin your moment. Only you can ruin your day. See you soon.